It's that time of the year again where everyone starts to try and predict which direction the stock market will move in next year in 2024. And this has been fueled by the recent Fed and Bank of England rate decisions. Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the predictions being made about next year and some of the predictions as to what sort of portfolio you should have. And then I'm also going to share with you what particular sectors I'm personally focusing on. This year has been nothing short of pretty crazy. We have had interest rates being on the rise in both the US economy and the UK economy. I don't know about you, but personally, I have been able to feel this in my everyday life. In March 2020, rates across both economies were pretty close to 0% in an attempt to help the economies. But then they started increasing again in March 2022, and they didn't really stop. They just carried on increasing, and that pushed the borrowing costs in the US to the highest level that they have been in 22 years as of the summer just gone. As of the most recent meeting, interest rates were set to be between the range of 5.25 and 5.5% in the US, and this was the third consecutive meeting whereby rates were held. They were unchanged. And a similar picture whereby rates were held was seen in the UK as well. But during the recent meetings, the Fed were clearly signalling that they expect to see rate cuts coming in 2024. Each dot here represents an individual committee member's projection for the federal funds rates at the end of the given years 2023, 24, 25, 26, and the longer run. So you can see that this does indicate that most of the committee members expect a decrease in the federal fund rates in 2024 from the levels projected at the end of 2023. So the clustering of dots for 2024 is positioned lower than that cluster of 2023, suggesting that the median projection anticipates a reduction in those interest rates. And this optimism about the future of interest rate cuts has already really played into the stock market, and we have had a bit of a Santa rally towards the end of the year, with many stocks and the stock market index as a whole performing very well. Now, a Santa rally does tend to happen in December for a variety of reasons, but for sure, this is definitely giving a lot of investors a lot of optimism moving into the next year. If we now turn our heads away from the Fed and we look to see what Wall Street analysts are actually predicting and saying about 2024, well, let me tell you, it is a very mixed bag of responses. There's a real divided stance. Some are predicting a really robust, strong 2024 where we have market recovery and lots of different stocks are going to do really well. And then others are saying that we are going to see a recession. However, the average forecast taken across many different analysts predict that the S&P will climb 10% across 2024, which is in line with historical averages. But even so, this split opinion really does highlight the inherent uncertainty that we see when trying to make stock market predictions. And then when we look to analysts to tell us what type of investments we should be making in 2024, or what type of stocks even we should be buying for the best return in 2024, again, it's incredibly mixed. Some analysts are arguing and standing strong that we will continue to see a bull run for AI and tech stocks as we already have this year so far. However, others, like Gene Munster, are saying that actually the Magnificent Seven will continue to do well, but the most money, the best returns will actually be seen in those smaller cap companies or even the financial companies. Gene Munster has said that there are several tech companies with market caps below $50 billion that they think will do extremely well for investors in 2024. Now, I'll leave a list of them on the screen now. Of course, do your own research, but you can see that one of those is Palantir, which is personally one of my largest positions. And then we've got others saying that the Magnificent Seven and the tech stock in general will not do well next year, saying that it is so unlikely that these stocks will continue their dominance next year. But remember, we don't know what's going to happen in 2024. Even those analysts that time and time again have made really accurate predictions, they still don't know. No one knows. No one can predict the stock market. Otherwise, we would all be very rich. These targets and these predictions, like we saw earlier from the Federal Open Market Committee, have been wrong in the past and have tendencies to adjust their forecasts, sometimes really significantly, in response to changing economic conditions. So I think what that's telling us is that we can't rely on anyone else to decide what is in our own portfolio. If your time horizon is 1 year, and you're going to withdraw all of your investments at the end of 2024, and that is going to be your best bet at financial freedom, then you best get this right. You better know which investments to invest in for next year. But if it's not, and your time horizon is actually way longer than this, then I personally wouldn't worry too much, and I wouldn't start changing my investment thesis and my investment plan based on what some committee members have said. So definitely keep an eye on the macro, because that does play into things and that does really change things. But rather than trying to predict whether the stock market is going to go up or down next year, just instead focus on patience and think about long-term mindset. I'm going to continue with my plan that I've already laid out. I am going to carry on accumulating shares in those companies that I see long-term potential in. Whether next year we have a crazy tech run like we've had this year, or maybe the market comes back a little bit and we have a bit more of a recession, whatever it may be, I'm going to continue with my plan because I'm here for the very long term and 1 year doesn't really matter too much to me. However, there are some sectors in particular that I'm focusing on because it's these sectors that I think we're going to see the most growth in. Whether that happens again next year or whether that happens in 10 years' time, who knows? But one of those sectors is, of course, artificial intelligence. If you look at where my money is, you will see that most of it is towards companies that are very, very focused on artificial intelligence. Tesla and Palantir, for example. And I'm particularly looking at those companies that have real world value and real world application of AI. I personally believe that enterprises will be increasing their budget towards AI dramatically as time goes on. And of course, AI is still very hyped and it's still a buzzword, but it is making significant differences to many businesses. So I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon. And we are very, very much at the start of the adoption curve. And then we have data analytics. We are in a world now where data is the new language. Every single company, every single person even is producing massive volumes of data each and every day. There's no denying that. But we now need to understand, we now need to be able to analyze that data and draw from that the most valuable, most efficient meanings from it. Those companies are allowing other companies to do that. They may see very, very strong growth. Again, I have Palantir. A third sector that I'm particularly interested in, I've spoken about this in a recent video that I will link up here or up here, I can't remember which way around it goes, is genomics, gene editing specifically. This to me represents a massive growth opportunity for the long term. There are going to be many, many barriers and many time delays and risks to this one, just given the nature of what it does. But healthcare is now really changing. We are now at a point in time where we understand the human genome. We understand the language of the human genome. And we are at a time where actually biology is now meeting engineering, computer science, and that is allowing us to edit genes, which means that we finally may have cures to diseases that we didn't before. And this expands past genetic diseases, and we can look at different cancers, different autoimmune diseases. But anyway, I won't waffle on too much about that as I have made a whole separate video on it and I will continue to talk about it. But I do see massive potential here. But these to me are not the only sectors that represent massive opportunity. I think also cloud computing and cloud security, cybersecurity is a particular area that may see a lot of growth very soon. But I could go on and on. Do you know what? Let me know in the comments below which sectors you think have the most growth opportunity in 2024 and maybe even onwards from 2024 in the comments below. I also now have a second channel that you'll see on the screen now. The channel's called Stock Speak, and it's a place where I dive into many different stocks that you may be interested in finding out more. So don't forget to go and subscribe over there if you haven't already. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll be back soon with another.